Hey there, toy collector friends and Doctor Who fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. I am the time-travelling toy collector, and this is the Hero Collector Doctor Who figurine range, Cyber Warrior, as first seen in the on-screen TV episode Ascension of the Cybermen. As you can see, it does come usually, as they all do, in its unique little pod here, which can be used for display purposes. And this item was number 192 in that range. It also, on the back of the pod, as you can see, has the various information regarding its appearance and the Doctor that faced it, which was the 13th Doctor, as played by Jodie Whittaker. So yes, this is another in the Hero Collector range of Doctor Who figurines. Now again, those who are followers of the channel know that I don't collect Doctor Who figurines per se, but quite partial to some of their monster designs, in particular their Dalek range, and also now their Cybermen range as well. So this is the Cyber Warrior, which was one of the more recent iterations of the cyber species. I'm just going to rotate it round so you can get a full 360. I'm not doing it on a turntable. Purely because that goes continuously and quite a rate, so I want to actually turn this nice and slowly so you get a chance to see all of the detailing on these figures. They are around about 7.5 to 8 centimeters in height, so they scale well with one another, and they scale well with the Daleks range. They don't really scale well with the, as others will know, with the character option 5.5 inch figures, which is a shame because character options haven't yet done any Cybermen in the more recent iterations. Actually, I don't think they've done new Cybermen since the 11th Doctor era, which is a shame as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, let me bring this figure a little closer to you. I'm really glad that I'm getting these cyber figures. This one is a bit more posed. It's got its arm outstretched. Reason being, it has its arm mounted gun out. You can also see there that it has some sort of raised element on the back of its hand. I'm not sure whether that's actually an element linked to the arm mounted gun or not. If it's not, it's going to get damaged by the arm mounted gun, so that's design flaw on the Cyberman cyber race front, but never mind, I'm sure they've got a way around it. I love the detailing here. This is often the cyber figures are, and the cyber race are considered to be, you know, humanoid components encased in a suit of armor, a suit of steel. And I think this iteration of the Cybermen really go back to that sense. I'm going to pop it back on the stand for a second. Really go back to that sense of a suit of armor, because if you look at this overall display figurine, you can see elements that sort of scream suit of armor. So you've got the gauntlet here, which has these rather nasty spikes. You have the spikes on the shoulder there, and of course you also have them running down the leg. I remember the day when the Cybermen had piping and ping pong balls down the side of their legs and their arms. If you don't believe me, you can check that out. But here we have them very, very clearly built for war and built for fighting. And this iteration was indeed exactly that. What I particularly like about this figurine is that it has movement to it. It has flow. You can see it's walking. It has the arm raised in an attack formation. It has character, which I really appreciate in a figurine, because it's not a posable toy. So let's be really clear and upfront. It doesn't have posability. It doesn't have any points of articulation or special features. It is a standalone display piece, collectible figurine on its hexagonal black base. And again, as with all the other Hero Collector figures and ships, etc., the base contains the information label, so Cyber Warrior, from Ascension of the Cybermen, so that's all lovely. So we know what we're getting, but what I like here, and it's something that Hero Collector do extremely well, is we can see some real good attention to detail. We can see the paneling, we can see the different layers and textures that are presented to us here. We can see in no uncertain terms that time and effort is spent developing. I'm just going to try and get a close-up of the head sculpt there. I'm trying to get the light just right and not lose focus. But I mean, this is even, you can see where it's a little bit puckered and worn from the fighting that it's experienced. At least that's my angle. You might just say it's a lousy paint job, but my angle is slightly different to that. That's because I choose to go down a positive route with the majority of the figures and models that I look at on these videos. But I'm really taken with it. I mean, you know, if I do some toy photography, which I have up on my Instagram page, and sometimes it's really hard to get some of the action figures, whether they're Transformers or whether they're Star Wars or whether they're Doctor Who figures, to really hold a position that suggests that there is flow and movement and character at work. And I was really happy actually with some black and white shots that I did with various Cybermen through the ages, and I think it was the second Doctor as well as the 13th Doctor, and there's some photos of those up on my Instagram page from a couple 2 or 3 weeks ago. So by all means go and check those out. But the character options character options, the Hero Collector monsters do achieve, in the majority of cases, that sense of flow. Again, the more humanoid iterations of their characters, I'm not so enamoured with. I don't think that they really always have a successful paint job, especially around the features, the facial features, etc. Yeah, for me, if I'm getting a figure, and it's a static figurine, I really want it to be a bit more instantly identifiable. And I've seen too many variables in some of that range. Doesn't mean it's not for everybody. I'm sure it absolutely is for some people, and possibly you've collected all of them, and that's great. The other problem I have is that I do like to collect, as you can probably tell. So if I do start, then I'll want them all. So I'm limiting myself very deliberately to the Cybermen as well as the Daleks that I've looked at in the Parliament of the Daleks and the Time Lord Victorious ranges, also from Hero Collector. So anyway, getting back to this figure, it's a beautiful sculpt. It really pulls out. I hope you can see it well on the camera. There's the nice blue detailing in the head, I'll call it a headlamp, but in the lamp that's situated in the head, it's probably some additional weaponry system. The carryover from a previous iteration, which is the light in the centre of the cyber chest. There's some blue detailing on the gauntlet there to pick out the weapon system. And we do have this wonderful different silver pulling out the slightly more flexible element in the centre, as well as around the neck, which in an actual Cyberman, if such a thing were the case, would be where it has some waist and neck articulation. So I think there's a real excellent piece of sculpting that's gone on here. And again, the back isn't wasted. You can see here, I hope it comes out well on the camera, the different shades of silver and the gunmetal grey that really depict the Cyberman. And there's even a seam here to the cyber boot, if that's what we want to call it, which is also pulled out in an addition in a slightly lighter, brighter silver shade. I think this is a really excellent figure and a really good example of the cyber race as it continues to evolve into its own future. From the episode Ascension of the Cybermen this came from, it's interesting to note, if I remember rightly, and I'll check the magazine that came with this, because again, as with all or the majority of Hero Collector models, there is a magazine that comes along with each of the characters to give some details and some background. I seem to remember it being the first time that it's identified that Cybermen have now been improved further by having got rid of any organic components. So part of the selling point of the cyber race in the first instance was that they weren't robots, they were actually humanoid life that had encased itself in a suit of armour, as it were, replacing failing organs and flesh and emotions, etc., with bioelectronic elements and bionic elements and ultimately machine parts. But there was still a core organic aspect to it, whereas the cyber warriors, which this figure represents, actually had eliminated organic components by way of an upgrade to a stage closer to cyber perfection, which I thought was an interesting take. So are they in fact now just cybers? So that's one for you to debate in chat rooms and forums ad infinitum. So this figure, do we like it? I certainly do. Am I glad I've added it to my collection of Hero Collector figurines? Yes, indeed. It also is a really interesting, just as the last point I'll make, it's a real interesting bridge character, because the next time we see the Cybermen, which was in the very next episode actually, The Timeless Children, they are reimagined by one of the Doctor's other enemies into Cyber Masters, and I do have a video for the Cyber Master figurine already up and live that you can go and see. Check out my Doctor Who figurines playlist and it's in there, or you'll find it, just have a look around the channel, it's there. But that figure is an evolution of the Cyber Warriors, so it does have some of these spiked elements, but it also has some more Time Lordish elements to it as well. And it's interesting because the Master, because that's the villain in question, introduces us to the Cyber Masters. He points out that he's reconstituted them from the corpses of Time Lords to give them some regenerative abilities. So it's almost a reverse engineering of the Cyber Warriors, given they don't have organic components. So it's a step forwards and backwards in terms of cyber evolution. So that's an interesting point that I just thought I'd mention and throw in, just to show that I've been watching. Anyway, thank you for spending the last 11 or 12 minutes with me. You've been excellent company. I hope this has given you a really nice opportunity to take a look at the Cyber Warrior figure as produced by Hero Collector, and helped you to decide whether or not this figure has a place in your collection. You may already know, you may already have it. You may have been undecided and now know that it's definitely not for you. Whichever way you've jumped, I'm glad I was able to help if I was able to help. So perhaps you would do me the honour of clicking that like button. I would be hugely indebted to you. Similarly, you might want to throw a subscription to the channel, possibly hit the notification button so you don't miss any future reviews or explorations or appreciations or close looks at either Cybermen figurines, Dalek figurines, Transformers, character options toys, Star Trek, whatever it might be. There's all sorts on this channel, and ever expanding. So thanks for coming along for this brief ride. You have been a fantastic audience. I have been the time traveling toy collector, and this has been the Hero Collector Cyber Warrior from Ascension of the Cybermen, from the Doctor Who figurine collection by Hero Collector. I hope to see you in a future video. In the meantime, do keep safe, and remember that a thing of beauty really is a toy forever. Take care. Bye bye.